After 7 long years, a surprising truth was revealed. Love transcends poverty and brings family together. Claire's hands trembled as she poured the last of the coffee into an old mug, the chipped ceramic a testament to years of wear. The early morning lights slinked through the diner's window, casting a warm, soft glow over the scene, one that felt both comforting and confining. She'd lost track of how long she had been waking up before dawn, but the thought of returning to an empty home was always harder than facing the constant strain of work at Mary's diner. Rows of regulars chatted about the mundane, their voices muffled against her thoughts. She could hear Leah and Sam laughing in the back of her mind, yet the laughter felt tainted by the gnawing worry in her chest. Bills were stacking like pancakes on her kitchen table, and the creased cash in her purse felt heavier every month. As her heartbeat merged with the rhythm of the diner, she searched for hope amidst the weariness. But each day brought the burden of exhaustion, the ache in her shoulders a cruel reminder of her aloneness. She remembered her father's tales from her childhood adventures and life lessons wrapped in simple wisdom. Days when family meant safety and laughter. Those days were long gone, buried under layers of resentment and uncommunication that now felt like an insurmountable wall. Suddenly, the urge to reach out to him surfaced. It had been years since she'd last seen Tom, her father, since the fractures of their past had become too jagged to navigate. Yet she felt the weight of isolation screaming for resolution. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Claire hesitated as she stared out the window, conflicted. Reaching out to Tom meant peeling back layers of bitter memories, reliving the hurt while trying to extend an olive branch. Could she confront those feelings, the tangled emotions, and still stand tall? The grinder of daily life pushed harder as she felt a growing sense of desperation. She had to be strong for Leah and Sam, yet internally she screamed from loneliness, from loss, from the stagnation of her life. The thought of reopening old wounds felt like an impossibility, yet the craving for closure loomed larger than the ache. Moments later, gulping hard, she dialed his number. The tone reverberated through her heart, with each ring heightening her anxiety. Would he even pick up? Did he want to hear from her? The clawing questions loomed over her, filled with uncertainty and fear. Just when she thought the line would connect, the call abruptly ended. Claire's breath hitched, the stagnant air of the diner felt intoxicatingly stifling. In that moment, doubt surged through her, thickening the already tense atmosphere. Facing her father meant confronting everything she had buried inside, everything she had tried to forget, staring at the RSVP request letter discovered just the night before, a letter from a small estate promising an inheritance. Her reality swirled in confusion. What lay hidden beneath the paper's surface? Could it change everything, or would the revelation only crack open more wounds? Holding the letter tightly, Claire felt the walls closing in. Would she have to share this news with Tom? Does she even want to? Anxiety intertwined with determination as she navigated these emotions, clenching the paper in one hand while wishing she could navigate her heart as easily. With her father's number on her caller ID, Claire paused, standing at the crossroads of anger, love, and all the unknowns that would follow. The morning light continued its gentle procession across the diner, illuminating the shadow of Claire's uncertainty. The distant clanging of the kitchen echoed her inner turmoil. It was a constant reminder of the grind that kept her moving forward while her heart ached to retreat. She had gambled with her future by reaching out, but the impending confrontation with her father felt maddeningly ungraspable. Setting down the coffee pot with trembling hands, Claire decided to immerse herself in her work. The habitual routine provided a backdrop that distracted from her frayed emotions. She filled orders with practiced ease, serving plates to the regulars who continued to bustle around her, oblivious to the chaos brewing beneath her calm exterior. Yet, the more she smiled and engaged, the more hollow each interaction became. It was exhausting to maintain a facade while navigating the rocky terrain of her thoughts. Each time she caught her reflection in the diner's metallic surfaces, a stranger stared back. The shadows under her eyes were not just from sleepless nights but from a deeper fatigue, a readiness for change mixed with a paralyzing fear of it. Her heart raced as she replayed her conversation with her father. What if he felt the same way? What if he rejected her again? Such was the tumult of complex emotion tethering her choices. It entwined her guilt, regret, and the fading echoes of their once loving bond. As the lunch hour surged, Claire felt the pressure to maintain her composure rise. But as each minute passed, so did the nagging awareness of the letter crumpled in her pocket. The mere thought of its contents ignited a fuse, and she knew she could no longer pretend it didn't exist. It was calling her, whispering promises and secrets of a life that had once been intertwined with love, a bond she feared was now growing dimmer. When a lull finally came and the diner emptied slightly, Claire settled into a corner booth, her heart racing with resolve. She pulled out the letter, her fingers brushing the elegant writing, the anticipated possibilities implicit in its existence amplifying her heartbeat. This inheritance could signify a new chapter for her. Perhaps it meant a bridge back to Tom, a potential chance at healing old wounds. But with that hope came a surge of dread. Opening up those pathways also meant facing unhealed scars. The thought of emotional vulnerability threatened to crush her, but a flicker of courage ignited beneath her worry. In that booth, a decision formed. It wasn't just about inheritance but reclaiming her own narrative, demanding clarity in the narrative of her life. She had lived long enough under the weight of resentment, and while change was frightening, the stagnation was suffocating. With newfound determination, Claire stood resolute. She needed to reclaim her story, to confront both her father and the ghosts of her past. The idea of cupping her hands around the letter, a tangible symbol of possibility, now stirred something primal within her, a desire not just to survive but to thrive. As she locked eyes with the half-full diner and the imperfect yet comforting noise, she felt the momentum build. Tomorrow, she would dial her father again. But first, she had to unravel this inheritance and what it represented. What if this was more than just financial aid? What if it also offered a path to understanding her own capabilities, a chance to forgive, and maybe even bridge the gap of years lost? The stakes were suddenly higher than they had ever been. As Claire tucked the letter back in her pocket, she felt the weight shift, less of a burden and more of a catalyst. She would step into discomfort, ignite the spark needed for growth or catharsis. Tomorrow would be the reckoning. With a firm grip on her future, Claire pushed through the flutter of doubt, fueled by hope and relentless determination. The question loomed before her, echoing with gravity: what truths awaited her once the past was put on trial? The answer lay just a conversation away. The clock in the diner ticked forward, marking the passage of time with an almost mocking rhythm as Claire prepared to face her father. Morning shifted into afternoon, and with every minuscule movement, she felt her resolve waver and strengthen in equal measure. The roles of daughter and estranged father weighed heavy upon her, clashing like thunder against the dignity she was trying to reclaim. Determined to break the cycle of avoidance, Claire scribbled notes on a crumpled napkin, each line representing thoughts she would express, pathways she would traverse. Every word served as a reminder of her goal, clarity. As she started her shift, she shifted her focus away from the ebb and flow of customers. The routine chatter faded into white noise, grounding her to the task at hand, but the diner felt increasingly suffocating, walls closing in, filled with reminders of her past. The clatter of dishes and the sizzling grills created an orchestra of routine, drawing her deeper into contemplation. Each customer she served, a face etched with stories she would never know, further ignited doubts about her own narrative. What gave her the right to seek closure and connection when she hadn't even forgiven herself? In the midst of this self-loathing, Claire discovered an unexpected tenacity. There was something liberating about owning her faults, confronting every missed opportunity in her life. It was a small revelation: she didn't have to be defined by her past mistakes. This was not merely about reconciling with her father, it was about reconstructing her identity, brick by brick. As lunch service winded down, Claire felt a tremor within her. The omnipresent letter in her pocket had become not just a connection to her past but a motivator driving her toward action. She realized it served a dual purpose: it was a bridge to her father and a map back to herself. Unearthing its contents could lead her to a deeper understanding. Taking a quiet moment in the kitchen, she unwrapped the letter and stared at it. It represented so many things: distrust, regret, hope. Her heartbeat quickened as she imagined the possibilities: the inheritance could reshape her desires, propel her toward the type of independence she had only dared to consider in her dreams. Just then, a surge of anger bubbled up. Betrayal and resentment towards her father surged forth, mingling with her desire for connection. How could he have left her with such a burden? But underneath that anger was a realization. She had been holding on to that resentment like an anchor. Perhaps the only way for her to emerge from the depths was to confront him, not as an adversary, but as a person willing to forgive. With every pulse of determination, Claire resolved to lead the conversation not with blame, but with inquiry. What had he been feeling during those years? What circumstances drove them apart? A profound instinct stirred within her. Perhaps it was not her father holding the key to her freedom, but rather the act of speaking to him freely that would grant it. The sun dipped below the horizon outside, casting shadows in the diner that echoed her internal darkness. She felt the weight of the day steeping into anticipation, electrifying the atmosphere. Tomorrow was both daunting and exhilarating. She was ready not just to speak but to listen, to uncover hidden truths that extended beyond her immediate comprehension. With the evening shift coming to a close and the restaurant emptying out, Claire felt a surge of adrenaline. Tomorrow would unveil not just her father's truths but her own, compelling her to face what she had long buried inside. She would embrace the complexity of their shared history. Exquisite, painful, and transformative. Claire left the diner that night with an overwhelming sense of urgency coursing through her, a thirst for resolution that demanded to be quenched. The question now loomed larger than ever: would uncovering those truths bring liberation, or further entrench her in pain? An answer awaited, but it would require a leap into the unknown. Morning light filtered through the diner's glass doors, illuminating the remnants of yesterday's tension. Claire arrived early, heart racing as she replayed her plans like an actress rehearsing lines before a debut performance. The stakes felt insurmountable. She had gone from feeling insignificant amidst her surroundings to recognizing an essential thread in the fabric of her identity that connected her to her father, however frayed it may have become over the years. As she wiped down the counter, the smell of fresh coffee wafted through the air, grounding her in the moment. The familiar sounds of the diner plates clinking, the hiss of the grill melded with the unease bubbling within her. Busy work often allowed her to escape, but today, she needed to confront that unease head-on. She used her rag to scrub harder, visualizing it as an act of cleansing, preparing her for the confrontation ahead. The letter nestled in her pocket felt heavier than before, its weight pressing against her thigh like a constant reminder. What truths did it hold? Was there forgiveness in there, or merely a reflection of memories too painful to unearth? As she brewed coffee, Claire reflected on her father's absence, a presence marked by silence and missed birthdays. Those years echoed painfully in her mind, filling her with uncertainties about their upcoming conversation. With each customer who entered the diner, she began to observe them, how they connected or disconnected, their laughter and sorrow intertwined in the fabric of the everyday. For the first time, she saw their humanity clearly, realizing they too had stories layered beneath the surface. It struck her that in her focus on her own pain, she had overlooked how every interaction might reveal deeper truths. These observations felt enlightening, igniting a flicker of hope that she could weave her narrative anew. When her shift ended, the clock chimed, and she took a deep breath, a balancing act of terror and hope. The diner emptied, and her heart raced at the thought of the impending meeting. An inner voice murmured caution. She knew some wounds might never heal. But these thoughts morphed into affirmations of clarity. Her desire to confront her father was less about blame and more about understanding the nuances of love and loss. Claire positioned herself in front of the mirror in the diner's restroom, battling the urge to retreat. She took another breath, steadied herself, and recalled her purpose. This was not about rehashing old grudges or schoolyard arguments. This was an opportunity for shared understanding. They were two imperfect individuals seeking common ground, however impossible that had felt for so long. As she walked toward the door, she thought about the myriad of possibilities that lay ahead. She envisioned a conversation enriched by empathy rather than anger, seeking to learn about her father's struggles and dreams. Regardless of his responses, Claire realized her journey thus far had already reshaped her identity. She was no longer just a daughter with anger, she was a woman demanding clarity for herself. The sky morphed into hues of orange and pink, reflecting her simmering anxiety. As she approached her father's house, her pulse quickened. This was at the culmination of years of silence and resentment. Would their meeting dissolve the barriers that had kept them apart for so long? Stepping onto the porch, Claire hesitated, hand poised to knock. The moment teetered on the edge of revelation. Would she find not just closure but also a profound understanding of love's complexity? No longer could she hold on to her past, it was time to embrace whatever the future held. As she rapped softly on the door, a new wave of apprehension crashed over her. Was she ready for the answers that awaited? The echo of her heartbeat resonated in her ears like a countdown. With the door cracked open, time seemed to stand still. There was no turning back now. The door creaked open, revealing a figure that Claire had both longed for and dreaded. Her father, older and wearier than she remembered, stood before her, uncertainty etched across his face. The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy, laden with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Claire opened her mouth, but the sound of her own voice felt foreign. She was battling a swell of emotions that threatened to overwhelm her. "Dad," she finally managed, the words slipping out like a whisper, fragile yet powerful. His eyes searched hers, a glimmer of recognition flaring before he stepped aside to let her enter. The familiar scent of old books and lingering cologne mixed with a musty air filled the small living room, anchoring Claire in the reality of this moment. It felt surreal to be in this space, a room filled with memories that had once been so painful. "Claire," he said, his voice thin but steady. "I didn't expect you." The words hung between them, sharp yet soft, threaded with both relief and trepidation. Claire took a deep breath, grounding herself in her purpose. Standing there, she felt the weight of her past collide with the anticipation of this meeting. There was so much she wanted to ask, so much she had rehearsed in her mind, but the comfort of her script escaped her. "About the letter," she began, feeling the weight of it in her pocket. "I think we need to talk about what happened, about us." He nodded, looking at her with an expression that combined sadness and a flicker of hope. The walls felt like they were closing in, yet there was an unmistakable spark of determination within her. She wanted the truth not just for herself, but for the fragmented pieces of their relationship that still lingered in the air. "I know I haven't been the father you needed," he started, the tremor in his voice betraying the calm he attempted to project. Life has been difficult, and I made choices that affected both of us more than I imagined." Claire's heart raced, her mind swirling with the implications of his words. She took a step closer, letting the distance between them shrink. "All those years, I thought you didn't care. That you chose to abandon me." His eyes dropped to the floor for a brief moment, shame etched in the lines of his brow. "I know. But I was fighting my own battles, Claire. I thought keeping my distance would protect you." Protect her. The very notion felt laughable. Years of absence had only bred resentment and confusion, not protection. Still, she could feel a shift within her, a compelling drive to unearth the truth for both of them. "But it didn't protect me. It left me feeling abandoned and angry. I've carried that anger for so long. I need to understand why." As she spoke, she saw a glimmer of vulnerability in her father's gaze. The impact of her words flickered like lightning around them, illuminating the shadows that had long barbed their connection. She sensed his resolve wavering under the weight of her confrontation, yet he clung to a facade of calm, as if defying the emotional storm brewing between them. There was something about this moment that felt charged, a fragile balance between healing and confrontation. Claire saw the potential for all of this to unravel either into chaos or into pathways toward understanding. She felt empowered yet terrified, stepping into the unknown, knowing the questions she asked could change everything. "Can we start over?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "Can we find a way to rebuild this?" He looked startled, as though she had struck a chord deep within him. The flicker of hope blossomed, and for the first time in years, Claire dared to believe that perhaps their relationship could transform, could become something real beyond the veil of abandonment. Yet, with the hope came the fear of what truths might emerge from their conversation, truths that her father might be unwilling to disclose. "Claire," he began, choked with emotion. "There's so much you don't know." As the gravity of his words settled in, a deeper urgency stirred within Claire. What other truths lay buried beneath the surface? Was the foundation of their reunion built upon more than simply missed birthdays and silent years? Would she uncover the hidden depths of his struggles or face a darker reality she wasn't prepared for? The line between reconciliation and revelation had been drawn, and Claire's heart raced with the weight of it all. The door to understanding had cracked open, but would she find the answers that might shatter everything she thought she knew? Claire's breath caught, and an electric tension filled the air between them. She clutched her hands into fists, willing herself to remain calm despite the tempest of emotions that surged inside her. It was evident that this moment held more complexity than she had anticipated, and she understood that the revelations could veer into territory she had never dared to imagine. "What do you mean?" she managed, her voice breaking slightly. The fear of the unknown clung to her like a shadow, and a small part of her wanted to retreat to the safety of ignorance. But that wasn't an option anymore. She was determined to confront the past head-on. Her father sank into the worn armchair, his shoulders slumping as if the weight of the world pressed upon him. "I made decisions to keep you safe, decisions that cast shadows over your childhood. You were too young to understand, but I thought I was protecting you from the chaos." Chaos. The word swallowed in her throat, boiling with images of lonely nights filled with unanswered questions and a house that lacked warmth. A delicate balance between love and anger hung in the air, wavering just out of reach. "You kept me in the dark," she said, her voice steadying. "You let me believe that I was worthless. That I wasn't worth fighting for." "Claire, no." He shot up, his voice rising with a fervor that startled her. "That's not what I wanted for you. I thought, if I stayed away, you would have a better life. That you wouldn't have to be burdened by my struggles." She shook her head, finally allowing the shadows of her past to surface. "But you didn't even give me the chance to know you, to understand. Instead, I built this narrative in my head that you didn't care." His eyes flooded with regret, and Claire realized that while his choices had led them to this confrontation, he too had suffered the consequences of his decisions. Compassion and anger collided within her, forcing her to question how they could move forward from this point. "Tell me the truth, Dad," she said slowly, her voice barely above a whisper but firm. "What chaos were you running from?" Taking a shaky breath, he began to unravel the seams that had kept the truth hidden for so long. "I lost everything during those years. Your mother it all spiraled down, and I couldn't bear the thought of dragging you into that misery." Pain gripped Claire's chest. She had heard hushed tones over years, never fully comprehending the depth of those struggles. "So, you chose to disappear instead? To leave me alone with the aftermath?" He looked down, eyes welling with tears. "I thought it was the only way. Maybe I was just a coward, too scared to face my failures. But, Claire, I can't change the past. I can only ask for a chance to make things right now." Her heart raced, wrestling with the juxtaposition of this moment, filled with vulnerability and potential. The raw honesty of their exchange sparked something profound within her, a quiet resilience pulling her forward. "Rebuilding takes time," she said, her voice firm yet gentle. "I don't want empty reassurances or vague promises. I need to see you fight for this relationship, for us." As she spoke, the enormity of what lay ahead began to crystallize. Their journey wouldn't be a straightforward march toward reconciliation. It would be fraught with twists, bends, and perhaps even moments of sharp pain. But there was room for growth amid the struggle. "Then let us start now," he said, a newfound determination igniting in his tone. "But remember," she warned, locking her gaze with his, "it's going to require more than just words. I'm willing to work on this, but you need to fully open up. What you don't know, Claire, is that I've been carrying a weight that could change everything. It's not just about me, it's about understanding our family's history, the decisions I've made for our future." As he spoke, Claire felt the air crackling with anticipation. What could he reveal that would alter the trajectory of their relationship? The stakes were higher than ever. Would they be able to confront not just the past but her family's tangled truths as well? The moment hung there, suspended, awaiting a resolution that she had craved for years yet feared profoundly. As the shadows deepened around them, Claire stood at the threshold of discovery, knowing what came next could alter everything once more. "Claire," he said, eyes searching hers, "are you ready for this? to uncover what lies ahead? I don't think I have a choice, she replied, heart pounding, ready to venture into the tangled web of their family's legacy. And as she took a breath, bracing for what was to come, the promise of unearthing the truth loomed larger than ever. Claire felt a chill run through her as her father's words hung in the air, heavy with unanswered questions. The vulnerability of that moment caught her off guard, awakening a longing to uncover not only her father's secrets but also the truths about herself that had remained buried under layers of uncertainty. What do you mean by await? She pressed, her curiosity piqued but tempered by the caution of her heart. The raw emotion she had glimpsed in her father's eyes compelled her to dig deeper. He ran a shaky hand through his thinning hair, and for a fleeting moment, Claire sensed the anguish that gripped him. There are things about our family, about your mother, that I have never shared. It's not easy for me, but keeping them hidden has only built a wall between us. I'm not saying it'll be easy for either of us, she countered, drawing strength from her determination. But without the truth, how can we rebuild? Every piece of information, every hidden chapter, belongs to our story. His gaze slipped to the floor as if the weight of their shared history was too much to bear. She could see that he was wrestling with the past, caught between a desire for honesty and the fear of what that truth might do to them both. In that moment, she realized it was not just about her own journey but his as well. Revelation had the power to unify or shatter, but opting for silence would join their hearts in isolation. Your mother and I were intertwined in a tumultuous relationship, he began haltingly, the words choking in his throat. Our love was passionate, but it was riddled with complications. There was a darkness we both battled: addiction, debts, and lies that haunted us. Claire felt her heart constrict at the mention of addiction. She had never known of this facet of her family's struggle, but the revelation echoed her own fears. Would this be another link in the chain of disappointment that had defined their interactions? I fought to shield you from that turmoil, to provide a semblance of normality. But I ended up casting you aside like I did with your mother. The acknowledgement stung, igniting anger within her. It felt like the floors beneath her were crumbling. By disappearing? You think that provides me with normality? Her voice trembled with a blend of fury and deep-set pain. In truth, it just left me wandering with questions, wrapped in shadows while I searched for answers. His shoulders sagged further. I know, it's a dreadful burden I inflicted upon you. But Claire, understanding why I left will also help you understand who you are. With each unveiling layer, Claire felt herself shifting, confronting both inherited pain and hidden resilience. She understood that while her father's actions were rooted in fear, they had inadvertently shaped her identity, steeping her in a quest for acknowledgement that had only just begun. Then show me the truth, she urged, her voice steadier this time, weighing the gravity of the unknown. What else is there? Taking a deep breath, he met her earnest gaze once again, this time with the resolve of a man ready to confront his past. There is a family secret that changes everything. One involving a choice I made, a choice that could explain your mother's struggles and my subsequent actions. Her pulse quickened. What possible revelation could be powerful enough to rewrite their shared history? The thought sent a jolt of both fear and intrigue racing through her. Tell me, she insisted, a growing sense of urgency overtaking hesitation. It's not just about my choices, he replied, voice lowering. It's also about you, Claire. There's a part of you that you've yet to discover, one that has been waiting beneath the surface all these years. This truth, it's more than just family. It reveals who you truly are. Claire braced herself for what might come next. The layers of vulnerability steadily peeled away, bringing forth a tantalizing glimpse of growth waiting to blossom in the light of honesty. The tension thickened as the promise of revelation drifted closer. Would she emerge from this journey as someone transformed, or would she find only more burdens? Just as she opened her mouth to ask another question, the doorbell rang, loud and jarringly sudden, cutting through the fragile moment. The unexpected interruption left them both caught in a shared surprise, an unsaid tension dancing between them. What other truths awaited beyond the doorway? As Claire exchanged a nervous glance with her father, she could almost feel the universe shifting beneath her feet. Who could that be? She wondered, heart pounding in the stillness that hung thick around them. Claire's heart raced as she approached the door, uncertainty pooling in her stomach like a storm. The weight of her father's revelation lingered behind her, shrouding her in unfamiliar shadows. She hesitated, hand hovering over the handle, fighting with the instinct to turn back. What truth might step through that door? Would it complicate the fragile moment she and her father were beginning to rebuild? Eventually, she gripped the knob and opened the door. Standing there was an elderly woman, her face etched with a history of both sorrow and strength. She wore a faded floral dress and her silver hair gleamed in the afternoon light, framing eyes that seemed to look beyond Claire into memories of the past. "Claire?" the woman questioned, her voice soft yet piercing. "Who are you?" Claire responded, a mixture of suspicion and intrigue swirling within her. "I'm Mary." "I knew your mother," she replied, the tremor in her voice betraying an emotional connection beyond mere acquaintance. "May I come in?" Against a backdrop of inherited tension, Claire felt a flicker of curiosity ignite. "Sure, come in," she said, stepping aside. Mary settled into a chair, her presence filling the room with an unexpected warmth. Claire returned to her father's side, their earlier conversation hanging heavily in the air. As they waited, the reality of their current moment struck Claire, a stranger with secrets standing here, about to reveal pieces of their family's past. "I hope this doesn't come as a shock," Mary began gently. "But I wanted to tell you about your mother. There are stories that need to be shared, truths that were often hidden." A chill ran through Claire at the mention of her mother, the silent specter that had loomed over her life. "What do you mean by hidden?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mary looked to her father, seeking his permission, and he nodded, a reluctant understanding passing between the two. "Your mother was battling her own demons long before you were born. It spiraled, and this darkness it pulled her away from the joy of family and pushed her into an abyss." Claire's mind raced. "What kind of demons?" she pressed, desperate for clarity, driven by a primal instinct to understand what had shaped her family. Addiction, yes, but it was more than that. There were moments when she felt she was losing herself to a past she couldn't shake. It was as if she lived in a fog, unable to find her way back to the light. Each revelation seemed to chip away at Claire's understanding of the mother she had desperately sought to connect with. Tears formed in Mary's eyes as she continued. "She loved you deeply, Claire. I saw it. I was there. She tried to fight her way out for you. Our efforts to guide her were often thwarted by her own fears." As the narrative unfolded, raw and unembellished, Claire began to see her mother as a complex individual rather than an abstract figure of disappointment. Pieces of her identity clicked into place like puzzle pieces, revealing the contours of pain and struggle she had inherited. "Is that why my father left?" Claire suddenly posed, a darker undertone to her question. Was he unable to cope with her struggles? Mary nodded solemnly. "It was his choice to distance himself. But you're not defined by their decisions, Claire. You have the power to shape your own path. Don't let their choices bind you to despair." The urgency in her voice seemed to awaken something within Claire, a deep-rooted determination to resist the gravitational pull of inherited tragedy. She realized this moment was not just about uncovering family secrets, it was about unearthing her own strength. "What do I do with this truth?" she asked, her resolve solidifying into a question of movement, not paralysis. Mary leaned forward, her expression earnest. "You embrace it. You take what you learn from here and use it to create something new. You have the chance to break the cycle." Feeling overwhelmed yet propelled by newfound clarity, Claire looked at her father. It was as though both their pasts were unfolding together, intertwining. Would they be able to break free from their history? Or would they allow it to dictate their future? Claire's determination sparked into focus. "What do we need to do next?" she asked, ready to confront whatever waited beyond the shadows. Just then, Claire felt an unexpected stirring in her gut as she recalled her father's words, "A part of you that you've yet to discover." What awaited her could redefine everything, but would she be brave enough to seek it out? As the door closed softly behind Mary, Claire remained frozen in thought, processing not just the words that echoed in the room, but the feelings of anger and sorrow clawing at her insides. She felt a rush of adrenaline that coursed through her veins, an intoxicating mix of resolve and fear. Her mother's struggles, woven together with her father's departure, propelled her into the unseen depths of her own identity. What pieces did she still need to discover? Claire, her father's voice broke through her reverie, his eyes searching her face for any sign of understanding. Are you okay? I didn't mean to burden you with all of this. I'm fine, she responded, her tone sharper than intended. It wasn't about him. It was about her. The truth felt like a live wire, sparking connections between her family's past and her identity. She had spent her life struggling with shadows, searching for approval and reaching for understanding. Now, those shadows were shifting, revealing a landscape filled with possibility. Actually, no, she continued, gathering her thoughts. I'm not fine. But maybe that's okay. What I'm feeling is clarity. I need to know more. She studied her father, seeing him not just as a parent but as a man burdened by the weight of choices he made long ago. He looked down, the lines of his face tightened with regret. I never wanted you to suffer, Claire. That life, it was too complicated for me. Maybe complicated is what I need to face, she challenged, the words emerging from her with an urgency that surprised even her. I want to break the cycle. Mary said I had the chance to create something new. I have to understand what she meant by that. Her father nodded slowly, an unsteady sigh escaping him. Your mother had dreams that became unreachable to her. But you, Claire, you can reach them. A flicker of pride ignited in his eyes. Was he finally beginning to see her as more than just his daughter, but as a woman capable of her own destiny? Reaching them starts with me acknowledging what's real. I want to learn more about her, and I need your help in doing that, Claire declared, feeling a surge of confidence with each word. Okay, he said softly, the willingness in his voice laced with an understanding she had yearned for. Maybe we can find old letters or photos, things she kept hidden. Perhaps there's a way for us both to confront what she struggled with. Then let us do this together, she urged, her heart thumping with anticipation. I want to face everything, her struggles, her achievements, the woman she was before the darkness. I don't want to inherit her pain, I want to honor her memory by growing beyond it. As they gathered old boxes from a dusty storage room filled with layers of forgotten time, Claire unearthed bits of her mother's life, fragmented and chaotic pieces that reflected a multidimensional reality. There were photographs of a young woman filled with light, laughter captured in a moment just before a storm. An old journal, frayed and barely held together, promised confessions and aspirations waiting to be uncovered. Sifting through the remnants, Claire felt the stirring of knowledge not just about her mother, but about herself. Each item held stories that could crystallize her understanding of legacy, choices, and the power to redefine what it meant to be part of this family. However, as the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, a sudden unsettling thought crept in. Would the insights she uncovered actually help her grow, or would they reveal deeper fractures that she might not be ready to recognize? What if the past was more than mere memory? What if it was a labyrinth with hidden walls she had yet to confront? With every artifact, confidence surged, yet with it came the weight of impending discovery. She was treading toward a place no one else had yet explored. The thought carried a gravity that both thrilled and terrified her. Let us keep diving deeper, Dad. I'm ready for what's next, she said, her voice resolute yet quivering with a vulnerability she couldn't hide. Just then, a jolt ran through her as she flipped open the worn journal. The first entry began with a date that rang a bell like a haunting reminder. Could it be the same as the night her mother disappeared? As Claire pressed her finger against the inked letters, a chilling realization washed over her. She was not just uncovering her mother's past. A storm was brewing inside her, charged with emotion and fueled by the anticipation of confronting truths she had never expected to face. She needed to be prepared for the darkness that lay ahead. Would she have the strength to confront her mother's unspoken truths worth inheriting, but also dangerous? Or would she falter, dragging her father's heart along with her? The journey had just begun, and the revelations promised to shape Claire in profound, unanticipated ways. What awaited her on the pages left to unfold? As the early morning sun filtered through her bedroom window, Claire awoke, feeling a sense of determination pulsating within her. The discoveries from the previous days haunted and inspired her. She had crossed the threshold from fear to empowerment, reclaiming her narrative with every fact unearthed about her family's past. Her transformation had begun, and it was exhilarating. With a renewed sense of purpose, Claire sat at her kitchen table, the dust of old memories mingling with the scent of fresh coffee. Today, she would confront the remnants of her mother's life with a vigor she had never thought possible. Armed with the worn journal, she felt a connection to a woman she had sought to understand but found merely a ghost within her memories. This time, it wouldn't just be about understanding the pain, it would be about discovering strength. As she flipped through the pages, she absorbed the elegant penmanship, revealing a tapestry of aspirations, fears, and battles her mother faced. Each entry was not a testament to failure but an invitation to resilience. Claire could suddenly see herself reflected in her mother's struggles, the relentless quest for understanding, for love, for belonging. The emotional descent from anger to understanding flowed seamlessly as she deciphered her mother's tales. The entries were sprinkled with dreams of opening a bakery, flashes of laughter among friends, and despair during difficult nights. These pieces of her mother's story enveloped Claire, illuminating her path toward healing and growth. Each line she read unraveled years of resentment tied to her father's absence, prompting her to explore their crumbled relationship anew. It was time to transition from hoping for healing to actively pursuing it. No longer shackled by the weight of her parents' choices, Claire felt empowered to bridge the gap between her past and future. Later that day, Claire invited her father for dinner, an olive branch with the potential for profound connection. As they shared a meal, she verbally navigated the landscape of her mother's journal, inviting him to expound on moments she had never known. "Dad, there's a lot I've learned," she started, her voice steady. "I need you to help me understand who she truly was." Her father's eyes filled with a precarious mix of regret and yearning. Claire could see it, the modulation of fear that had once clouded their conversations was lifting. "I can try," he replied, his voice laden with gravity. The intricate patterns of their lives were intertwined, begging for comprehension. Through laughter and tears, they began to excavate memories, reshaping the context of their relationship. As understanding settled in, Claire could see the first sprouts of healing taking shape. She finished her meal, no longer waiting for the other shoe to drop. The conversations were lighter, emboldened by sincerity. Each shared story brought clarity to their familial love, a love that had been buried yet was still vibrant and alive. Time marched on, and those deeply rooted conversations opened doors. Claire's once constricted universe expanded, enveloping love, acknowledgement, and a foundation of trust she thought lost forever. Both she and her father were willing to shed fear and guilt, transforming their shared history into a launching pad for resilience. Claire's newfound confidence prompted her to take the next step. She enrolled in culinary school, driven by her mother's aspirations. Each class reminded her of the woman whose spirit had echoed through generations, a spirit Claire was determined to embody. Cooking became her medium of expression, through which she fostered her creativity and paid homage to her mother's dreams. At graduation, Claire stood before a gathering of fellow students and family, her heart swelling with pride. In that moment of culmination, she beamed. She had conquered not just the bitter memories but had transformed them into sweet manifestations of resilience. Her journey had come full circle, grounding her through a blend of personal accomplishments and the reclamation of family love. In the echo of applause, Claire recognized the power of her own narrative. She was no longer the trepid daughter engulfed in shadows. She had emerged as a woman of solid confidence and recognized competence, destined to forge a distinct path while upholding her family's legacy. As she stepped out into the world, a deep sense of peace enveloped her. The journey toward understanding and forgiveness had not been linear, but it had reinforced the fabric of who she was. Claire stood, no longer a reflection of rejection but as a beacon of light, committed to embracing all that the future held. This is the moment for you, too. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that can reshape your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes all the difference. Comment below your reactions and theories about this powerful conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative ending. This is how we foster collective growth and healing through personal stories.